Most people will admit they struggle with conflict. Some will admit they struggle with boundaries. But very few people admit the deeper issue underneath both of those things, the fear of disappointing people. Not anger, not confrontation, disappointment. That moment when someone looks at you and realizes you didn't give them what they wanted. You didn't meet their expectation. You didn't make their life easier. You chose something else. For a lot of people, that moment feels unbearable. So instead of risking disappointment, they bend, they adjust, they explain, they apologize, they say yes when they mean no. And slowly, quietly, almost without noticing, they build a life controlled by other people's expectations. Not because they're weak, not because they're bad people, but because somewhere along the way they learned a dangerous belief that disappointing someone means you've done something wrong. And that belief will quietly control your life until you challenge it. The reason disappointment feels so heavy isn't actually about the other person. It's about what disappointment seems to say about us. When someone is disappointed, we often hear something deeper than their words. We hear, I'm not good enough. I've failed. I've let someone down. For people who carry a strong sense of responsibility, that feeling can be almost unbearable. They don't want to be the reason someone else hurts. They don't want to be seen as selfish. They don't want to be the person who caused the problem. So they take on a role that seems noble at first. They become the fixer, the peacemaker, the one who keeps things running smoothly, the one who absorbs the tension. But there's a quiet trap hidden inside that role. When you take responsibility for everyone else's disappointment, you actually start living a life that isn't yours. This fear doesn't usually appear out of nowhere. For many people, it begins early. Maybe you grew up in a home where love felt tied to performance, where approval came when you behaved a certain way, where tension in the house made everyone uncomfortable. So you learned to keep things smooth, keep everyone happy, avoiding rocking the boat. Sometimes this lesson comes from good intentions. Parents trying to keep peace, church communities trying to encourage kindness, families trying to avoid conflict. But when that message goes too far, it quietly teaches something unhealthy. It teaches that your job is to manage everyone else's emotional experience, and that belief becomes heavy over time because human beings were never meant to carry that much responsibility. You are responsible for your character. You are responsible for your choices. You are responsible for your words. But you are not responsible for every emotion another adult experiences. And the sooner a person understands that, the freer their life becomes. When someone organizes their life around avoiding disappointment, three things usually begin to happen. First, the decision becomes unclear. Instead of asking what is right, they begin asking what will upset the fewest people. That might sound compassionate, but it slowly erodes integrity because the right decisions often disappoint someone. Second, resentment begins to grow. At first, it's small, a little frustration here, a little exhaustion there. But over time, resentment builds, not because other people are demanding, but because you never told the truth about what you could or could not carry. And third, identity starts to blur. You stop asking yourself what you actually believe, what you actually want, what you actually feel called to do. Instead, you become a reflection of everybody else's expectations. And when that happens, something important slowly fades. Your sense of direction, your sense of purpose, your sense of who you really are. At some point, every adult faces a turning point, a moment when they realize something uncomfortable. You cannot live a meaningful life without disappointing someone. Not your parents, not your friends, not your coworkers, not your church, not your family, not the culture around you. The moment you begin living with clarity and conviction, someone will be disappointed because everyone carries expectations. And many of those expectations are never spoken out loud. So when you step outside those expectations, disappointment appears. But here's the shift that changes everything. Disappointment is not always a sign that something went wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that you finally told the truth. Living with integrity doesn't mean becoming harsh or uncaring. It means learning how to carry responsibility in the right direction. Instead of trying to manage everyone else's reactions, you focus on three things: truth, character, clarity. Truth means saying what is real instead of what is convenient. Character means acting in a way you can respect later. Clarity means letting people know where you stand. When those three things guide your life, something interesting happens. Some relationships grow stronger because honesty creates trust, and some relationships grow tense because they were built on silent expectations, and some relationships slowly fade because they depend on a version of you that no longer exists. That can feel painful at first, but it is also incredibly freeing because your life begins to align with who you really are. So if you struggle with disappointing people, here's a different question to carry with you this week. Instead of asking, how do I avoid disappointing people? Ask this: am I living honestly? Because honesty will disappoint some people, clarity will frustrate some people, boundaries will upset some people, but living a life built around avoiding disappointment will cost you something far more important. It will cost you yourself. And the steady man refuses to disappear just to keep everyone comfortable. He speaks with kindness, he listens with humility, but he lives with integrity, even when that integrity disappoints someone else. There's a quiet freedom that comes when you accept something simple. You cannot control how everyone feels about your life, but you can control whether you live it honestly. And when you begin living honestly, you'll discover something surprising. The people who truly belong in your life will respect you more, not less, because they finally know who they're standing beside.